here's his own place.
I didn't hear about that.
They had fun with that one.
I'm sure.
What happened on Channel 11 News, I think it was the 6 o'clock news, probably about 2 weeks ago, they have a new news lady, Caroline. And I know the camera wasn't supposed to be on, but I just happened to be watching it, and they just went live. The guy was running on, trying to get his tie on, and she was adjusting her skirt.
Oh, fun. Bad timing, huh?
It was, and it was so quick, you had to just, I mean, they got that off so quick.
Dennis is on live, but he's not talking to me that it's time to start yet. My official timekeeper.
State law requires this body to announce at this time that a copy of the current Open Meetings Act is available at the back of this room where it is accessible to the public. Simpson.
Here.
Sisson.
Here.
McDermott. You. Gibbons.
Here.
Burbon.
Here.
Hines.
Here.
Johnson. Aldrich.
Here.
It's now time for a moment of silence. Please stand, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 1 is consent agenda. Approve this agenda, pay the claims as submitted. Approve the minutes of the April 21st regular council meeting. And item D, approve an application for special designated liquor license to serve a wedding party reception on the 23rd at the Phelps County Ag Center.
Move to approve.
Will they be able to do that?
So I had the same question, and clarification I got is we're just approving the license, we're not approving the event. So if the health measure is still in place, they would technically not be allowed to move forward.
We're just approving the liquor license.
Okay, no second.
Everybody's got me screwed up with numbers here.
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
Gibbons.
Yes.
Burbon.
Yes.
Hines.
Yes.
Johnson. Not here. Aldrich.
Yes.
And Simpson.
Yes.
Motion approved. Item 2 is public forum. Now is the time. People want to speak something that is not on the council agenda. Now is the time and the place for that. Please approach.
Which side of you?
Yeah.
Somehow.
Okay.
I know you said not to bring up too much ruckus, and I apologize in advance for that. So with graduation having to be canceled this year, all of us at the chamber kind of had the idea of putting on a parade for all of the seniors. So what we're asking, and I know it's kind of short notice because we're not on the agenda, so going forward would have to be decided upon with you guys, but we have a map of kind of what would happen, what we would expect, and time and date would be the date of the virtual graduation, which is May 17th, from 6 to 7, so just an hour long.
Oh, thanks, guys.
We tried to have it by the high school, but also on a road where there's not a lot of residential housing or anything, so it would start or end either on Burlington, and you can kind of see the distance that we marked out, and it would go in between on Grant Street between the high school and the track, and it would kind of start bigger parking lot, just so that way it wouldn't be too long and still allow a lot of people to park at the parking lot, so.
Yeah.
Did I forget anything?
No, I think we might request if it was possible, a little extra police presence, especially right there at 14th and Burlington, to help make sure I would assume we'd have everybody exit onto Burlington and just join the parade, the highway traffic, just to, as minimal disruption there as possible. But yeah, and then, we'd have volunteers stationed at all of the cross streets to help folks line up parallel park along 14th Avenue. And then the seniors and their families would be notified. They'd drive by and, you know, folks could cheer and wave and allow for some kind of a celebratory procession for our seniors. So, and as a senior parent myself, I think that's pretty important for that public recognition, so.
Have you checked with the school? They've got some construction going on. I don't know if that would interfere with,
I didn't check with construction, but I did check with Todd Hilliard, just on their timeline, and he
Okay.
said as long as he didn't have to organize it, he was 100% for it, so.
that's the only thing I kind of thought of. There's some
Yeah,
activity
but-
going on there.
Yeah,
so-
that is a good one, so, and we could easily tweak that to where we wouldn't go down, Grant Street in between the track and the parking lot. We could easily bring it
Yeah.
into the Tassel parking lot and kind of go around from there, so.
You line up there by the tassel?
Well, Karen had a pretty good idea. She likes to think of things different than I do,
Oh,
so
sorry.
I.
Well, the thought is that, and I apologize, this is pretty short notice getting put together, so, but the idea would be that the seniors would come through between the hours of 6 and 7 p.m. And so it would be a little bit more free-flowing than like you would think of for our Swedish Days Parade. And then they would be directed through the Tassel parking lot out onto 14th, where the cars would be lined up. We'd ask for the public to come between 5 and 6 to line up so that there wouldn't be other traffic moving during that time other than the seniors.
What day?
Hmm?
What day?
That would be the 7th.
Friday,
or,
yeah, 15th, Friday.
The 15th, yes.
Yep, the Friday before
Friday.
graduation would normally be.
And then that way they could continue on to a cruise night that I know.
Right, yeah.
Whoever's coordinating the cruise nights has, mentioned wanting to do something for the seniors that night as well, so.
Chief DeMood? Can we hear you? Kim, do you have any concerns you?
I was included with the emails with this going on and whatnot, and like Jessica stated, Todd really did, Todd thought it was a good idea, but the school didn't want to have to take time to mess with it. I also have a senior in high school this year, and she hasn't really said much about it, but I think it would be good recognition. I don't think it'd be much of a problem. It wouldn't require us to have any overtime, especially if PD would take care of 4th and Burlington, but are they starting at 14th and Burlington, are they starting there or ending there?
We could, so that's one of the things that we just need to figure out on our end is, you know, if we do start it on 14th and Burlington, where are they going to kind of like line up outside of that and then come into it? So that's when Karen had the idea to start in the high school / Tassel parking lot and have them park there, load up there, and then go through it and just end at 14th and Burlington, and they can just go.
Well, then that wouldn't
Straight
be
onto
much
the
of a
highway.
problem then, because then they could just use the light and obey the light as they would exit.
And then there's a light right where they would be coming out of the Tassel onto 14th as well, so that wouldn't be too terrible to.
No.
Better talk to Dennis about it too, though.
Any questions from the council?
Well, that light by the school, isn't that a manual light where you have to push it?
That's a crosswalk light, isn't it?
It's a crosswalk, but they stated they're gonna have individuals at each intersection. So if need be, they could have an individual there, volunteer there.
The trailer.
Right.
Yep, to trade, yeah.
My concern would be if you're coming out of the Tassel, out of Grant Street, you're gonna have to cross and be on the north side heading west, is that correct?
Right, but that's where the light is, where they can manually push it to stop
If
traffic.
traffic's coming.
Right.
And we would have cars parked on both the north and south side of 14th. And then the seniors would just drive through the middle. It's 4 lanes, so we wouldn't be smashed or anything.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is Chief. I'm finally getting the phone figured out here. You know, there's a North Park Assembly right there that cars could probably line up in the parking in
We
there.
can consult with them.
On the 14th. I don't know if I'm understanding everything exactly, but they could maybe line up in the North Park Assembly parking lot and then pull out on the 14th Avenue. I think you could ask permission of Pastor Steinbach and see what he says, but I think on a Friday night they could probably line up there. I don't know if I'm understanding everything because of the mic, but just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Thanks,
That'll work,
yeah.
Sarah. Thank you.
That sounds like a good idea. That's a pretty good sized parking lot. So, and they could pull out and go with the traffic and these. I would,
I move we approve the request.
A second.
Work with the
You
chief.
can't
Can't
It's
have
not
it.
on agenda.
It's not on
it's not on the agenda.
You can concur to let them
Yeah.
proceed.
Do your thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate it.
As
Yeah,
we
and
finalize
Dennis.
plans, we'll be sure to include all of you guys and let you know what's going on so you're in the loop on it.
And Chief, we'll coordinate with you to make sure that everybody's aware as far as, so, and all of the traffic control is coordinated.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thanks,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
appreciate
it's
it.
good, no burnouts.
Nope. From me or from everyone else? I can control me.
Thank you for doing that for the seniors. Item 3, consider working with Amtrak in development of a station platform and ADA accessible parking area at East Street and Railroad Street. We have Shane Westcott here, will help us with understanding the history here. And there's quite a bit of history, out of my understanding.
Yes, there is. So, yes, thank you guys. As Mayor Young said, my name is Shane Westcott. I'm here representing my family's property known as Iron Horse Station, located here in Holdridge. I'll give you just kind of a brief background and whatnot on some of the history of the building and the dealings we've had with Amtrak. My family purchased the property over 20 years ago. The building was in extreme disrepair, and we took great care in refurbishing the building to near original condition. A rental agreement has been in place with Amtrak for the duration of the ownership. Amtrak approached us in 2018 with their requirement that the waiting area be brought up to ADA standards. For nearly 2 years, I've been in negotiations with Amtrak for a lease to replace the one expiring this coming June. My #1 goal for this is to preserve Amtrak service to Holdridge. My second goal is to protect and preserve my family's investment in this historic structure. During these negotiations, Amtrak has moved the goal line several times. It hasn't been very clear with what they wanted. The estimated cost of required ADA improvements has ranged from $758,000 to $2.5 million. So those are their numbers. Okay. From the starting point, there's been a halting progress on rental terms, rate, and length. I'm also concerned with the wear and tear on the facility. The latest proposal to build a platform with no protection from the environment doesn't seem like a good option for visitors who come to Holdridge to board on Amtrak versus what we provide. My intention is to continue negotiations with Amtrak to reach a fair long-term lease that preserves the valuable services of the Holdridge community. I respectfully request that the city refrain from providing Amtrak with this less desirable option that results in poorer service to Amtrak patrons. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Shane, where they want to put the 2 parking stalls, are they going to cross the street and then put some kind of shelter or something right there?
Yeah, you can look at them. They'll put a shelter in. I believe it's going to be on BNSF's property there, so it'd be east of the depot. So yeah, they want to park in your parking lot, and then they want them to walk across the street and stand on that platform.
And but would the rest of your place still be open for the people that congregate waiting for?
No.
It
No,
wouldn't
they
be
want to,
open.
they want to completely, get rid of the lease and get out of using our property for anything.
Well, how big's the building gonna be then?
It won't be a building, it'll just be a shelter.
Just be an
It'll a
overhead
covered, it'll just be a
cover.
covered platform. They'll
So
have it elevated.
people have to stay in their vehicle in the winter until, and then
Yeah,
run out there.
it's gonna be all exposed to the elements, it's not very appealing.
No, that's
If you're a customer, you
It's
know,
not
you're
very good.
an Amtrak customer or
anybody.
anybody for what we do in that part of town. I mean, we've tried to keep the building and everything presentable, obviously, and that part of town is, you know, high traffic and everything else.
Well, if they cross, they do park there in the parking lot, ADA accessible, they cross Railroad Street, then to get to their ramp, that will be all brick sidewalk.
Be a little slick, summer to winter time.
And how ADA accessible is that brick walkway?
As long as it meets code, I mean, it's gotta you can't have over, I believe it's like an eighth of an inch or whatever. But the reason this started, and I never contacted Shane, but I was contacted by Amtrak. It's a lady out of Philadelphia, and she called me, and she said that she is still in negotiations with Mr. Westcott and trying to get this taken care of. But she was just requesting that if it does fall through, that they would have a place to park. And Shane is right, they've got a heated shelter, they've got a raised platform, and they've got all new sidewalks to be built to go to our parking lot, and it would be no cost to the city. They would incur all the costs in order to make all those handicap accessible. But she made a comment that negotiations weren't going very well, but she's still hoping, but this was just a second option if they did fall through by that June, whatever, 4th date or whatever date it was, and that's why I was bringing it to the council.
I think Bob Rigger and we had some gentleman, I don't remember from where, last year, talking about
Yeah, he was from Chicago,
Chicago, sound
of
right?
which they never reached out to me when they were in town or anything either.
So do you feel your negotiations are basically at a standoff at this point, or do you think they're moving forward?
No, it's been very passive on their part.
Yeah.
They want it their way or no way. That's
Well, I
what
can
it's-
kind of see if they're from Chicago or
Exactly.
Philadelphia, it's nobody with
There's-
local ties trying to
Exactly. And
negotiate for
that's
them.
what, you would have thought they'd have come and at least spoke to me if they'd made the effort to come all the way to town, but they hadn't.
Yeah.
And they haven't. No, they've, there's been a lot of feelings, you know, I've been receptive that, you know, we're from the East Coast and you're from the
Our way or no
Midwest,
way.
and we kind of know what
I
you
got
should
the
do.
feeling last year that they wanted, you know, things aren't going their way, they'll just build something else
Mhm.
on their property with.
Which is, they have every right to do, but they're not gonna imply or anything that we haven't put our efforts forward. Plus for the town, like I said, my first concern is, we need the service for our
Yeah.
town.
Well, if they're just gonna put a shelter like this up, my concern would be for people getting off of Amtrak in the middle of the night in the winter, and you're waiting there for somebody to come pick you up, and,
Yeah, the times, I mean, the
You know,
arrival
it's-
times are 12:54 and 2:30 in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's
yeah.
not, you know, so then, like you say, you have some of the people that are waiting there and.
yeah, if
it's
it's
not
snowing
gonna
and
be a situation.
blowing, it's,
Right, right, so, no, like I say, negotiations are still open, but at the same time, you know, we have to, for my family and everything else, we still have to be allotted a proper return on investment and everything else.
We hope to keep Amtrak an option for people.
Mhm.
Bring people from northern Kansas and,
Yeah, it's interesting watching the license plates in the parking lot where we bring them in from a big area. It's a good thing for town, and that's
Yeah.
why, you know, like I say, we want it there, but at the same time, we can't give things away.
so we'd like to keep Amtrak, but you've also your family has put a large investment in
Right.
preserving that depot.
Mhm.
So you would think that they would even kind of like the history
We've
of
been, yeah,
of
we, and
that,
we've,
so.
I've been more than reasonable on what I proposed to them, and they've chosen not to. They've chosen, they basically have just been very good at stalling.
Well, they mentioned anything about if you don't sign, we'll move? 'Cause I mean, they could.
They have, they threatened that a few times, and, you know, they're highly subsidized, so I got some politicians involved at the federal level, and they assured them that they would provide service, but it's, like you said, they can change their mind quickly, and you
Right.
put a platform in, and if ridership goes down, because, you know, people don't want to use it, well, the writing's on the wall, and they've been doing that across the country. They said that they lose money, they admitted to me that they lose money in central part of the United States.
Yeah,
But they have no choice because of how subsidized they are.
right.
Well, we really have no choice in the long run here. If you don't come to an agreement with them, we're gonna have to let them do what they wanna do. There wouldn't be any restrooms.
Nothing.
I mean, people waiting to
No,
pick up people.
I believe there's a shelter similar to it in McCook, but I'm not sure. I haven't run them with that. But there's no, it's not indoors. It's just a roof on a concrete platform.
I mean, people waiting to pick people up would have to park in the city parking lot. And either drive around, or the people have to walk through the grass, and, I mean, it'd be miserable for,
Right.
wouldn't even be safe at
Yeah,
that
and,
time.
and like I say, we'd be, you know, in private, I'll show you some of the negotiations that have gone on. But it's not reasonable at all.
And you have a heated place that they can come and,
Oh, yeah, it's heated and cool. I mean, it's on the east end of the depot. So, you know, there's restrooms, and it's private entry and all that. So, you know, you guys are welcome to look at that.
You probably don't keep numbers on how many people use
They've
that
given me
room.
ridership, and I honestly can't remember what it is, but I believe it's around 6 per day is average.
It's more than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be 3, but I believe it's 6. Please don't quote me, I can get you the exact numbers. Of course, with the pandemic we're in right now, it's way down.
Right.
And it's, you know, it is down, that part of it, but that's why, you know, it's not the best time to be negotiating on either side.
yeah.
Say, our goal is to still have a long-term relationship with them and do what we can, but we're not, you know, we need to be allowed a return, somewhat of a return, and that's
Oh, absolutely.
not what they have not provided us with anything even close to that.
Well, I'm guessing they don't have anybody here representing them to give us a presentation or anything on their side of the coin either, so I'm kind of at a point of tabling this until, see if your negotiations do better, or let it develop, or if they have somebody come talk to us. So,
Is that a motion, Doug?
that's what I would move to
Motion
table.
to table?
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mike Sisson?
Yep, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Shane.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott. Mary,
Yes.
Hugh. Gibbons,
Yes.
Burbong,
Yes.
Hine,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Howard,
Yeah.
Simpson.
Yes.
That has been tabled. Item 4, consider opening the swimming pool with respect to the COVID pandemic. I think a lot of you have the league bulletins. They are suggesting that not open pools this year. The pool might be safe, but the bathhouses, the restrooms, unless you'd have to disinfect quite regularly. That social distancing would be an item. I'd say that the league, they strongly suggest, and Kim mentioned, you know, some people are doing July 15th. Okay, we've got 30-some staff that we'd like to hire for the summer, but if we wait till July 15th, the summer's gonna be half gone and only gonna be open for like 3 weeks.
Based on the current directed health measure for our area, I mean, we wouldn't be able to do anything till June 1st at the earliest anyway. And even then, likelihood is you're still gonna be under some sort of guidance that we're supposed to follow. So I don't see it being a very good idea.
Is this gonna include the splash pad too?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, splash pad would be included, I would recommend. There again, hard to keep, who's gonna govern less, 10 people or less there. That's been a very good thing for our town, splash pads, but this COVID-19 is not good for anybody. And I don't want to put anybody, it's a public health issue that we're talking of.
If we were to wait until June 1st to make, or till after June 1st to make a decision, do you think we'd be able to recruit enough staff to run it?
I don't have any idea.
Okay.
I was pretty adamant about getting this on the agenda because we have 35 kids that need to find a job if we're not gonna open. And I really have a hard time myself even waiting until June 1st to make a decision, because I don't know what kind of staff we would have. Now, I will add that McCook did call me this morning and they voted last night to keep it closed all summer.
I'm kind of leaning toward keeping it closed, and maybe eventually the splash pad could be open for something for the kids to play on,
That's
maybe
what I
in
would
July or
suggest,
whenever.
too.
If they let up,
Kinda.
yeah, if they let up
We
the,
Look
have-
at
they
middle of
relax at
July or
least.
something.
right,
At least that'd give them something to cool off with, but
Right.
we don't have to worry about hiring people for that, so.
And it wouldn't take much to get it up and going.
Yeah.
No.
turn the
I
switch.
just hate leaving all these 35 employees in limbo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jobs are hard to find anyway.
Yeah.
Kim, if we don't open the pool, do you need any more help? Street crew or parks or
We
anything?
have hired, one individual for the parks, he's mowing in the South Park. We have hired, 3 in the, we're still on our rotation with our normal employees. We have hired 3 individuals to help in the street department. We'd be where it needs to be or whatnot, but in the street department, they gotta be a minimum of 18. And that's why some of these can't transfer over, because lifeguards only have to be 16. And they have to have the certain training and whatnot, so I cannot, transfer these over to different departments, so.
Can these 35 that we normally hire, would any of those be eligible for unemployment?
It was included in your packet that's what I believe, I think COZAD was doing.
Right.
There was availability for, I believe they started, if they wanted to sign up on March 29th, that would go till July 15th. And there is a website or something they have to follow, they have to sit down with their parents. Thank you. Yeah, March 29th through July 31st, that they could possibly be on employment. But we would have to, verify that they've been employed, and they'd have to go through with that. Now, I do believe this is also, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Dame, but it'd be no cost to the city. I mean, it'd be nothing fed back from the city. That if these kids could not find another job, this is the route they might need to go.
This would be a money-saving deal by not having the pool open, but that's never been an issue with this in the past. I think it would be like $120,000 expenses. Yep. But that's, we normally absorb that with our tax money. LB 40. What's the wishes of the council?
I thought I saw Rod have his hand up, I don't know
Okay, Rod,
Rod, you're muted.
can't hear ya.
Still muted.
You're muted, Rod.
He's waiting for his wife to come in.
There's his wife.
iPad fell there.
Sorry, Rod, we muted
Okay,
ya.
now try. Now try. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I just had one question on the pool and the splash pad. Has Two Rivers said anything at all about this? I mean, they're actually in control of the situation here.
Have not heard anything from Two Rivers, from the league.
Right, I read all that, but I'm just saying Two Rivers, probably we need to contact them too, don't we? Unless we're just making a management decision, not a health decision. I guess if you're gonna keep it open, you sure wanna get their approval.
I don't think we're gonna keep it open. This isn't a decision we can make right now, and we can't commit to staffing those kids because we
I
probably
understand.
we need to reevaluate in 6 weeks probably. And if it's safe to open at that time, and then if we can find the staff, but
Right.
yeah, we're not
Yeah.
opening anytime soon.
I guess if you're gonna keep it open, you'd need to contact Two Rivers. If you're gonna close it, you don't need to.
I think we're gonna close it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I was just pointing that out.
Thank you.
Sounds good, Rod. Thank you. Council's wishes? Go ahead and say it.
A lot of people.
Let's reevaluate, what do you think, middle of June?
I think we need to make a decision so these kids that are looking for a job.
I agree.
They should look for other jobs, yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's the middle of June, that's, don't give us
That's at
much time,
best.
yeah. To even be open.
A lot of those kids would be glad to go to work in the middle of June too. Cause they're not gonna find jobs.
I think things are changing so rapidly with everything that's going on that
Right now,
Nobody knows what's going on.
with our directive health measure is effective until May 31st. And that may change too.
Even then, when they ease it up, it's probably not gonna be right back to normal. It's gonna be slowly easing back the restrictions.
Instead of a congregation of 10, it'd be probably 15, kind of the way it
And
sounds.
the governor's already said that it's gonna extend on the 6-foot rule, so.
How you gonna control that with kids in a pool?
Yeah.
you can't.
Be kinda tough.
Well, and also, we just don't have the resources to guarantee that we would keep the buildings sanitized to the point that they needed to be. You know, are you spraying everything down every hour, every 2 hours? I just don't think we can commit to that. I feel like we can be safe about it. So if we're closing it, we're closing it. I already told my kid that this wasn't gonna happen this year, that she wouldn't be able to swim. So I
Wow,
think
sure.
we have to make the decision tonight that we're closing it for the season.
The lounge chairs, the benches, the bathhouses, the restrooms.
Anytime somebody sits on them, they have to be sanitized.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to start selling waiting pools. They sell a lot of
Mis-
them.
Mr. Mayor?
They want to
Yes.
have their own pool.
Just remember, there's always another option, and that's the YMCA. Whenever they open theirs up, if the city so decides not to open their pool up, remember that the Y sometime will open theirs. If if it's mid-July, then the kids can opt to go there without the city having theirs open.
Do you know, Dennis, does the YMCA run theirs in the summertime?
The what?
Does the YMCA run their pool in the summertime?
No, well, they do, but, theirs obviously is closed right now too. But I'm sure as soon as the okay comes, they would open theirs up, whereas for the city, it's gonna be pretty hard to open it up mid-July, and have any success in doing that, but the kids could then, at that point, go to the YMCA, and swim there.
I would recommend the council bite the bullet, close it for this year. On the safe side, I wish for the best. This COVID-19 is not friend of anybody.
I'll make the motion that we close the pool for the season.
I'll second.
What about the splash pad if they let up on it?
I think that we just, if things let up, we would open that
Open that
up,
up.
because that would be pretty easy to do.
Right.
We could include that under the playground equipment as far as
Right.
Yeah.
opening all that is a separate issue from.
Is that part of your motion, Jason?
Sure.
That's what I thought it was.
Okay.
And Troy Erbaum seconded.
Is that part of your second?
Yes, it
Okay.
was.
I thought that was your motion.
Johnson,
Yes.
Aldridge,
Yeah.
Simpson,
Yes.
Sisson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Burbine,
Yes.
Hine.
Yes.
I think that's the right thing to do at this time. That's a tough decision,
It
Council.
is.
Thank you.
Doug, if we do open the splash pad up, we're gonna have some supervision up there. From the
And we
city.
might be able to have
It'll
some
depend on
kids
what
up there or
the
something.
guidelines are from the state, I suppose, on that.
You could have a lot of kids in there.
Oh, yeah, that's a popular place.
Yeah.
We got a Speedo for Brian.
Yeah.
There you go.
One thing to
I've heard a
consider,
lot about his.
Easy now.
and I don't know if there is anything there, but if we're not opening the pool for the season and we're saving some of that money, are there upgrades or things we could look at doing during this year when it's not open?
Well, it's funny you say that. I went and got a price on repainting both slides. I did not bring it with me, but I believe one slide is 18,000, the other side was like 16,000 to repaint them and they were refurbished. I could look at if we need to maybe paint the bottom of the pool or the sides once again, or something with that action. We did find a crack in part of the piping that we're in the process of getting repaired. We got Phil Karkowski, who fixed it last time, is he was looking at a different, instead of going all plastic, maybe a stainless steel type thing that he was looking at. And we were hoping to hear from him this week. So yeah, there's other options we could look to continue to get the thing going, so.
Okay.
But I won't bring that pool, I won't do that pool slide without bringing it to the council and getting the council approval first to make sure.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thank you. Item 5, discussion of hotel occupation tax. The admin committee was gonna bring that together for us. Give us a recommendation.
Hello again.
Your Honor, council members, we're back again to continue the discussion that we started at the last council meeting. Jessica and I have been doing some research to answer some of the questions that you raised the last time and provided that in a brief little proposal paper for your convenience. We wanted to research what our neighbor to the north is doing, since they have both an occupation tax and lodging taxes in place. And in Kearney, they have passed an ordinance, and in that ordinance, they detail and answer some of the questions that you had regarding what is a hotel room and what is going to be subject to the tax according to their ordinance. I thought that might be helpful for you if you do want to proceed here to see how they classify things and also how they treat the proceeds that are derived from the occupation tax. In their ordinance, they specifically direct the proceeds of the occupation tax to fund the Kearney Visitors Bureau, and the entire proceeds go to that. And what Jessica and I were proposing is that a portion of those proceeds go to fund the Visitors Bureau here and the work of the Visitors Bureau, and then a portion of it be retained by the city for whatever uses you think it would be best to put those. We outlined our suggestions in a 4-point recommendation section on the front page there. And then you also asked the question about other business segments that could be subject to an occupation tax. And there are a number of ways that communities go about that. In the case of Kearney, they have laid an occupation tax over a redevelopment area in their hospitality district that applies to all businesses that lie within that redevelopment area. That's essentially the Eunice hospitality complex down there that includes retail, restaurants, and other things, spas, in addition to hotels. So that's one way you can go about doing that. Happy to answer questions. Jessica, do you have anything you want to add?
Nope. You did bring up the secondary occupation tax where it's on all businesses, but that would be on a certain section of town. Whereas for Holdridge, it would kind of be silly because we're such a smaller town. But yes.
Question.
Go ahead.
First one, the first papers we got from you guys, the first go around, you said designate Holdridge Chamber of Commerce Tourism Committee as administrator of the promotional fund. And the next one we got says Holdridge Visitors Bureau. None of us even know what that is.
My misuse of the terms, essentially, the chamber is the home of the visitors committee, and that's
Or Visitors Bureau.
Yes.
That is that the same thing as the chamber?
No, it would have its own separate committee. It would have somebody from PCDC, it would have somebody from the city. It explains in that first one what the committee would entail, what the bureau would entail. And then the chamber would be pretty much the one saying that yes, these funds are approved for said grants that the Visitors Bureau Committee receives.
So would it still be running, Jessica, through the chamber then?
Yes.
I mean, this is actually the chamber, but you're saying the Holdridge Visitors Bureau is this group that you're proposing?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's currently in existence and the recipient of the county lodging tax funds, is that correct?
The Visitors Committee from Phelps County, they have their own committee. Since the chamber office is the chamber and the Visitors Committee, we come and we're a part of the meetings, but we're not on the board for the Visitors Committee. So I attend the meetings.
You're the administrator for it?
And no, we are not. The county is the administrator of the funds. But we are where the Visitors Committee is, so we receive like a rent for it being the Visitors Committee and chamber office.
Well, I noticed in that first bunch of papers we got, I mean, they still have $108,000.
In structural improvements, I think is what it is.
Yeah, there are two county funds. One is for promotion and the other is for improvements to facilities.
So the VA Memorial requested a $5,000 grant, and that's where those funds came from.
Okay.
So they come to the county and request that funding, is that how that works then?
No, so the Visitors Committee they're the ones who approve the grants or the request for grants for either promotional or infrastructure, and they then send that up to the county for dispersal, and the county is the one who disperses those funds.
So you're proposing the same committee for this, or are you proposing yet another committee?
A different committee.
Okay.
Phelps County Visitors Committee promotes all of Phelps County. This would be strictly Holdridge.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
so it would have a different committee.
So then the money we're talking about would go to the chamber, and then the chamber would disperse it to the visitors.
Yes, correct.
Essentially, you're contracting with the chamber to perform the duties of a visitors bureau and the publicity, promotion, recruitment of activities and that sort of thing. They're providing a service for, in return, or on your behalf, essentially. Then they would report back to you with you know, the activities that they've accomplished on an annual basis. They would provide you with a budget and conduct their activities against that budget and strategic plan that they've put together.
So we could use a portion of, or the reports from the last previous years that have been collected through the visitors committee to kind of give you guys an idea of the amount that we would be collecting, and then use that to budget, send with you guys to approve, and then we would approve the funds from the chamber to the committee.
Larry and I have discussed this a couple times, and I've talked to Bob Rager about it too. In the past, whenever the chamber wanted to have a special event or do something a little different, you need additional funding, we just had you come to the council and make a request. And that's always worked in the past. Is there any reason we can't do that the same way?
These wouldn't be for chamber-specific events. These would be for trying to get conventions, tournaments, things like that to come to Holdridge to get more money in the community, to get businesses to benefit from that a little bit more. So anything we do from the chamber side is specific to our chamber members. This would be kind of the more generalized fund. Does that answer?
So this is basically for the Holdridge Visitors Fund instead of the chamber? Then?
Yes.
In the same way though, I think that it would be more appropriate for us to fund that annually rather than just acting as a pass-through for the occupational tax. So kind of like what Randy was saying. But in the, yeah, just I think we could fund it, but I'd rather do it annually rather than having it be an automatic pass-through. I understand all the oversight that you've laid out, and that would be a good idea too. But yeah, they can just bring us a budget on an annual basis, and we can go from there.
The advantage of doing it as a contract for services is that the chamber can react to the opportunities when they're presented and do it in a way that's more responsive and quicker. But still, you have the ultimate oversight by approving the budget and the strategic plan that they would provide. But this is a competitive world, and in order to really move at the speed that the decision makers are in this sphere, you got to have some flexibility and nimbleness, and maybe what you decide to do and approve in October, by the time March rolls around, there's something different that has popped up and you need to be able to react to quickly. And a contract for services, just like you do with an engineering firm or some other professional service provider, gives the chamber that kind of flexibility as opposed to having to come back to the chamber, get it on the agenda, and wait 3 weeks for it to be heard.
Well, the first question we had as a committee that the council needs to decide before any of this would move forward at all is the council in favor of this hotel tax? And Larry and myself and Bob Rager have talked about it, and the three of us are in favor of it. But we think it needs to go to 5 cents right off the top. You go start at 2 or you'll never move it. You just put it at 5
And be done with it.
and be done with it and move on.
In smaller communities similar to ours, as you've seen in the first one, they start at 5%, or they're right at 5%. And I mean, I've gone and stayed in those communities, and I haven't really batted an eye because you expect those things when you come out. So I
Right, when you go
started
get
out-
them, you when you go get a
Yeah.
motel, you don't ask what the taxes are, you just get a room, right?
And another issue here is, I mean, this would be City of Holdridge tax dollars, and the city has a lot of needs too. We got a ball field we need to get built. We're looking at a rec director, which would be approximately, we're just estimating another 60,000 a year, and that's something we desperately need too.
And this
And
would
if
kind of
you-
help that, because you guys would have the 50% of those funds that would go straight to whatever you decided you needed to.
We're thinking as a committee that 50-50 is not right here at all. And we're just throwing this out here. This is a council decision, but we have no idea what this is gonna raise initially anyway, because the times we're in, we're probably not gonna know for a couple of years. And the funds will be very limited for probably this first year. And we kinda hated to get stuck on percentages too, because I don't think that's fair. But I just think 50-50 is, I think the city's needs are more urgent.
They may be, and
We need help.
that's a decision that you and the council
Yeah.
will make, and we trust that you'll be fair.
Yeah, that's all
The idea is that you're reinvesting in the community to grow this sector, which is gonna produce more revenue in the long term. But I recognize there are issues that you've got to deal with right now, too. And sometimes it's better not to deal with details like that in the ordinance itself, but rather administratively. And I think you have that flexibility.
Well, I think there needs to be a lot more discussion here. I mean, I think we're getting close.
And I would definitely, I just want to touch up on a fact too that Mary had brought up about it being a time where people aren't traveling. So raising it right now, she didn't think was the best idea. I personally think it's a much better idea, so that way there's not a line in the sand saying, if you get a hotel room before, this date, then you're going to get taxed on it versus, right now, all the hotels, no one's really getting a hotel room right now. This is the perfect time to do it versus doing it later on down the road and saying, oh, well, last year when I stayed, it was much cheaper.
That's true.
So that's just something to keep in mind also.
We can tell you that tentatively, the cobblestone is set to open on June 26th. That could change, but today, we believe it'll open on June 26th. They're seeking management right now, and so I'm optimistic that that's going to happen real soon.
I think our first move should be to put this on the next agenda to approve this hotel tax, and then what percentage. I mean, we need to get council approval for that to start with, and then we can work on this once we know that's a go. Otherwise, we're kind of defeating the purpose here, but.
Putting the cart before the horse, really.
I mean, there's a lot of good information here, and thank both of you for that, and that got us informed, a lot more so than we were.
Right.
But I think we need to have some more discussion about it. I think you agree too.
Absolutely.
Could we get the tax put in place as far as the percentage and then negotiate a little bit back and forth as far as how we're splitting it down the road?
Right.
That way we can get to moving forward here.
Ben, did you have something?
Yeah, audio's not very good. Do we already have a committee that she's talking about? Is there already a committee in place?
No, there is not. In the first packet you received with all the information, there was an outline suggesting who the committee should involve.
Right.
So that's something to keep in mind, but that is something that we will work on.
But right now, the chamber is actually kind of taking on this role as of right now?
Ron's worked on this and,
We're supportive of the
Yes,
chamber
it's-
taking on this role, because it's traditionally been more of a, tourism has been more of a chamber-led initiative in our community, so it's a good fit for them.
Okay, so how many people were you planning on having on the new committee for this?
5. And it would contain a member of PCDC's board, a member of the chamber board, a representative from the council. Who are the other 2?
One at large and one from the hospitality industry.
One from hospitality, yes. So either cobblestone, roadway, somebody from them.
Okay, so then everybody on that committee would be a volunteer position,
Correct.
and we wouldn't have to hire a separate director to run that committee?
Correct, but there would be an opportunity for that to happen, similar to what Kearney currently has in place. They have an actual visitors bureau, a standalone building. Well, I say standalone, it's with the Chambers building, but it's got its own office inside, so.
And they have a lot of paid positions in that one, don't they?
I wouldn't be able to speak on whether they have a lot of paid positions. I don't know that for a fact.
Their revenues on an annual basis, Ben, are nearly $2 million.
I understand that, but the only problem I have with this is every comparison is to Kearney, and we're comparing apples to oranges here. We're not even on the same playing field as Kearney when it comes to the income, the taxes, or anything like that. I mean, to me, it'd be a lot more comfortable if we're being compared to somebody else like even, I don't know, Cozad or somewhere like that, where the numbers are more equivalent.
You had those in the other packet.
So in the first packet, there's comparisons for Broken Bow, Ord, McCook, am I missing one? York, which also doesn't really compare with us, but Broken Bow, when I spoke to the city there, they use the exact same statute that we would be using. So this 13-315, that is the statute that Broken Bow currently uses.
Okay.
Ben, we'll negotiate all this out later on down the road. We'll get this all ironed out. We just need to.
I'm okay. I like the hotel tax, but I feel like we're kind of getting the cart in front of the horse here. Like, we can go ahead and approve that if we want to, but we got to have it under the understanding of what rules we're going to be playing by, not just.
No, there'll be a lot more discussion.
And then whatever falls into place.
Nothing's set in stone. We'll continue to work on this, but we need to decide if we're going to implement the tax to start with.
We can get the initial ordinance with the tax passed and then work on how the money's gonna be handled as far as the city's gonna control it or what percentage.
Right.
And how much the committee will deal with, and that can all be worked out.
There isn't gonna be any money for quite a while.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while before you see anything on this, so.
And my concern is what type of ROI are we gonna get from this committee, and how are we gonna measure that? Because we're not gonna continue to fund something that's getting us nothing back. So we need to figure that piece out too.
Yeah, and on that point, you know, I think you should expect a strategic plan from the committee and how they're going to invest it and what you can expect in return.
And we could get, you know, quarterly or biannual reports from them as far as how they're progressing, so.
You guys just want to see more of me in here, don't you?
We'll get it ironed out. We just need to get past this first hurdle if that's what the council wants to do.
Yeah.
Jessica, you mentioned about you'd seek out other venues, events and sporting. Would you be looking at promoting the ball fields then, bringing
Absolutely.
tournaments too?
Absolutely. The more money they're spending there, we know for sure they're gonna be getting a hotel room, so we're gonna
Being
need
kind of like the Parks and
on
Rec
that.
director, if that
They
was.
work with that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Park and Recs director may be somebody that you would want to appoint to that committee.
And they'd be spending more money in our restaurants, in our retail establishments, things like that, so that's definitely something we would work for.
I think it's something we need to do. We need to
More
take-
traffic we can bring to town,
Yeah,
more dollars we'll build.
absolutely.
And not on the agenda, but you should consider a toll for cruise night.
Yeah. Get better every Friday.
Well, it's just on here for discussion tonight,
Yeah.
so.
But no, we look forward to working with you guys, and please let us know any questions you have, or any suggestions you have going forward. I'm more than happy to work with you.
Any assignments for us?
I think we can, once we get this, if we get this done in the next meeting, well, then we can start talking about some of these other issues. And Larry and I will gladly work with both of you and bring that information to the council.
Super.
We'll get through it.
I think we'll be fine. Let's just take step one.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Done a nice job.
Okay. Open discussion. I don't know, Bob Rager on? Jeff is.
Bob, isn't it?
Dane,
No, thank you.
Chief.
Well, if you can hear me.
Yeah.
I wanted to tender your approval of the alcohol license, because as of right now, Two Rivers is not approving wedding receptions. This morning when I was in on a Zoom meeting with them, listening to them, churches can have services, but of course no cover dish stuffers afterwards. There can be no wedding receptions and things like that. Now that might change before the 23rd of May, but as of this point, there still are to be no wedding receptions or gatherings after a funeral for, sandwiches and cake or cookies to meet the family. Those things are still a no-no through Two Rivers.
So what Two Rivers is telling us, Dennis, is if there's a larger congregation than 10, our local Gestapo, our police has to break it up or give them tickets, correct?
Well, that would be true, that when we sign the agreement, then we make the agreement that the police need to enforce those things. And as of right now, they're saying no wedding receptions.
That is correct. Anything else, Chief?
No, sir.
Thank you. Randy,
No, thank you, Mayor.
Jason,
Nothing.
Ben?
I just wanted to apologize for my tardiness, and this, granted nothing else gets any worse, I'll join you in chambers next week. This audio is ridiculous.
We can hear you fine.
Yeah, we hear you good. Troy?
Nothing.
Gibbons?
Nothing.
Mary?
Thank you.
Thank
Mike?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Can't believe it. Kim?
Their blessing's going hot and heavy on Guston Street. They've got, they got the south half, they were disking it when I was out there last Friday, so they're doing work on it, and weather providing, hopefully they'll have some concrete poured next couple of weeks, so.
And they should be done by the end of the month?
Well, that's what the contract says, so we'll see.
Great drag strip.
Yeah, not now, it's a little rough.
No, but it will.
Yeah,
It will be.
Get it marked out.
And they're supposed to leave a way for the electric crew to get to the substation, the west substation, so hopefully.
Just like I-18.
Hopefully we don't need it.
Yeah, if it rains and it's a little muddy, we might have issues. Kim went out and looked the other day, one of my linemen. Hopefully they get it poured pretty quick. It's tore up right in front, but hopefully everything's good. So,
along that line, why blessings are in the area, maybe the council wants to look at Guston Street. So,
East Street.
East Street.
East Street, East Street. Brian?
If some of you didn't hear, the auction was today that you guys approved us to go bid on, and myself and Dane and Troy ended up coming down, and Doug showed up for the auction, and we ended up getting both parcels. We gave $310,000 for the building and $90,000 for the pole yard. So, yeah. So we're very pleased. Thank you. I think it's going to work great. I think we could get Jason out of the basement, get all of our inventory there, and get poles and transformers out at the pole yard. I think it's going to be great. So it went good. Thank you.
It's gonna be a very nice facility with very little effort to convert it.
Needs a little fixer-uppers, but it'll be great.
So when does possession take place?
June
June
9th, I think. Yeah, June 9th is closing.
And I called the appraiser today and told him, and he said he would have an appraisal done in a couple weeks for us. And anytime after the appraisal's done and they want to close, if everybody's in position to do that, we can.
Thank you.
Yep, that's it.
Mr. Osborne?
Nothing.
Well, I can't believe that. Did I forget anybody tonight? This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Mayor.
Why don't you just have to-